So the second thing that you can do to help the world move beyond this climate argument, again, whether you believe it or not, is to get rid of your lawn, which is the reason that I'm actually walking around my neighborhood right now, because I think it's interesting to see how many lawns there are in these suburban environments. And you might think, like, why get rid of a lawn? Well, there's lots of reasons. Number one, the lawn is an incredibly wasteful element in the urban environment. It consumes hordes of fossil fuel to manage it. It generally receives thousands and thousands of pounds, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds in North America, fertilizers and herbicides. I'll put a link to an article that I wrote about this below. So it's hugely wasteful. And that's bad. But the worst thing is, and this is something that I noticed rarely gets discussed in any of the climate change conversation, is that growing 2-inch swards of grass on all of our front lawns has vastly changed the albedo of the planet. So albedo is basically the amount of solar energy that gets absorbed into the earth, or onto the earth, essentially. So if you've ever stood in front of a building on a sunny day that's black versus standing in front of a building on a sunny day that's white, you can tell that there is a massive difference in the heat being generated from that building, because dark surfaces absorb more energy than light ones. And so when we take a polycultural system, which is what all of Calgary would have been, it would have been native prairie with hundreds and hundreds of different grass species at different heights, different architectures, and we turned it into something that has one species at 2 inches high, we're basically vastly changing the albedo of the planet, which means that more of the sun that hits the planet every day is not being turned into grass and being put to productive use. It's actually warming the earth up. Not because of CO2, not because of methane, but because the surface of the earth has a smaller ability to put solar energy to productive use. And look at that, we're in front of my food forest now. So forest ecosystems generally have up to 7 layers in them. And the reason they have 7 layers in them is so that every different layer of the forest can absorb energy at different levels. So things that are at the ground level are going to be better at working in shade, and things that are working at the canopy level are going to be better at working in full sun. And so by the time you get to the bottom of a forest, most of the solar energy has been put to productive use, which is quite different than a monoculture lawn. Okay? So getting rid of your lawn and putting in a biodiverse food forest or garden or something that's going to better utilize the solar energy is actually going to have a cooling effect on the earth. It turns out that in the last 12,000 years, we've followed a pattern of deforest, plow, and desertify. This is the model of agriculture that we've predominantly used. And what it has done is basically change the overall albedo of the planet. And in doing so, I think it would be completely naive to say that as you change 50% of the forest ecosystem on the planet, of course, you're going to change how solar energy interacts with the planet. Of course you are. To say otherwise is to be totally unscientific. Isaac Newton said it best when he said, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. You can't tell me that cutting down half of the world's forest has not had an impact. So everybody that's investing money and time into maintaining lawns can do a huge service by changing their front yard into something that's perennial, that's multi-layered, that has diversity. Okay, so like trees, shrubs, bushes. It'll be more beautiful. It'll create more habitat for our failing pollinators, and it will actually have a cooling effect on most cities. And if enough of us do it, it will actually cool the planet down too. What's really great about these polycultural systems that have trees and bushes is we can design them as food forests. And so if every front lawn had a food forest on it, not only would we increase biodiversity globally and reduce the heat island effect in cities, we would also grow a pile of the food that we need as individuals. There's so much productive capacity that we have the ability to produce in cities. We just have to get out there and do it. So if you're interested in learning more about food forests, check out our website at vergepermaculture.ca. If you're interested in learning about permaculture and you've never really had a foray into it, we have a free course available on our website. I'll put information in the notes below. Make sure you like the channel. If you want more of this type of information, subscribe below. And if you want something like this sent to your inbox once a week, check out vergepermaculture.ca and subscribe to our newsletter. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you in the next video.